Hey everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com here, and I'm joined by the one and only Daniel Bryan. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. Now we're going to talk a little bit about 2K19 because you've been very excitingly chosen for a showcase mode, and then I've just got a couple of general questions as well about your career. So being chosen for a showcase mode themed around yourself must be very exciting. Which moments from your WWE career are you most looking forward to seeing in the game?
So I always think it's really cool. I think the start of the showcase mode is going to be really fun and interesting for me because it's me as Bryan Danielson against John Cena from a Velocity match in 2003. And so it's really interesting it's cool to be able to be Bryan Danielson in the game as opposed to just Daniel Bryan. That's part of my career that I'm very proud of. And so yeah, I think that's really awesome. I also am interested to see how it will play as far as my retirement and then my return at WrestleMania 34.
Excellent stuff. Is there any chance we could possibly see the American Dolphin, or is that a little bit too much of a stretch?
Yeah, there was no mention of American Dolphin in all the interviews and all that kind of stuff I did. You know, they did all this in-depth series of interviews with me that I think will be in the game to explain like what these circumstances were in my career, but never once did they bring up like, hey, what about that time you were one of the American Dolphins?
No, that's a tremendous shame. But when playing the game, I've got to ask as well, as a bit of a guilty pleasure, do you select yourself? Do you play as Daniel Bryan?
So I am not a big video game person.
Okay.
Like I'm not. But I would probably, if I were to play this game. So one of the things when I was a kid, I always loved playing as Rey Mysterio, because I'm just a button smasher, right? So I don't know what I'm doing. Like some people know how to do certain moves. I don't know how to do that. I just smash buttons. But in the old games, when you would play as Rey Mysterio, like if you just button smash, you would do the coolest things that you could ever imagine. And I think so. That's if you pre-order the game, you get to play as Rey, and that's what I would do, because Rey can just do the coolest. You know, he's the coolest wrestler in the world, and like his style is perfect for video games where you're just a button smasher. Holy cow! I just did this springboard 450 Hurricane Rana or something, you know?
Yeah, you hit a few buttons and then suddenly you're upside down and you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Now I have to ask as well, just more generally about your career. Throughout your time in WWE, you've always enjoyed a very strong connection with the fans, whether you've been on the right side of the fans' affections or maybe the wrong side. There's always been a strong response. And then particularly in the last few years, you've hit sort of incredible heights of popularity. But what's the secret to generating such a lasting connection with the fans?
If I knew what caused that, I would tell other people so they could do it too.
Oh, right.
You know, I have no idea. I think a lot of it was timing and circumstance, and you coming in at a certain time in a certain place in WWE had a lot to do with it, about creating that strong connection. And then also I think people view me as a real human being as opposed to just a character that's in WWE. So, and I don't know how that happened either, but they've become very sympathetic with my story and somebody who they root to succeed as a person, you know? So I think that if I had to give you an answer, that would be what it would be. But the real answer is, I don't know.
Okay. Well, it seems like it's sort of about forging that sort of connection. And speaking of connection, I'm going to do a bit of a segue here. Connections, you're renowned for your technical ability in the ring, but also your striking. Do you see what I've done there with connection?
Yes. Yeah, I see that.
Okay.
I see what you've done.
It was a bit of an ambitious one, but I hope it's worked out. I'm sure the comment section will let me know if that's gone down well or not. But in terms of receiving strikes, who's the hardest striker you've ever faced in your career?
Gosh, that's really hard to say because different people have hit me hard at different points. Some of them well-deserved. When I wrestled Morishima, a Japanese wrestler named Takeshi Morishima, he hit me so hard that it detached my retina and fractured my orbital bone.
Yes,
and
I think I remember seeing you.
That was the hardest.
I think I remember seeing you wearing an eye patch at some point as well afterwards.
Yeah, I had to wear an eye patch because I couldn't allow any light into my eye.
Oh, man.
I actually wasn't supposed to wrestle. I wasn't supposed to wrestle for 6 months, but then I wrestled 3 weeks later, so that's just me being stupid. But but yeah, so that was one of the particularly hardest hits that I've gotten. Kenta, who is now Hideo Itami on 205 Live, he in the past has hit me very hard. Sheamus has hit me very hard. Samoa Joe has hit me very hard. so I mean, there's a lot of people who have hit me very hard in the past, but I've delivered my fair share as well. So I don't complain too much.
There's a lot of candidates by the sounds of it. When you stepped away from the ring, it's worth mentioning that you'd already held the WWE Championship, the Intercontinental Championship, the US Championship, and also the Tag Team Championships, obviously alongside Kane. Heading into SummerSlam now, what could possibly be next for Daniel Bryan? Because you seem to have, you've already enjoyed a very full career so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing when people say that, because they say, what is it? What do you have left to accomplish? Because you've done these things and this thing or whatever. And that would, to me, I feel like that's very similar to saying, okay, asking Robert De Niro why he would still act if he'd still like, oh, you've already won this or that or whatever, and well, because my passion is acting, right? And so for me, what I hope to accomplish is just go out there and do the thing that I love to do, more than anything else, and so it's also interesting because I look at wrestling for me as my creative outlet, and so I'm always trying to find ways to use this creativity and create new creative heights for myself that probably the fans don't relate to as much, but for me it's like an artistic sensibility of, okay, I want to do this, or I would like to do this in this manner, that sort of thing. So all of those things, I'm always trying to create this idea of a perfect match, which never happens. It's like the perfect painting, right? So yeah. It's like I'm reading the biography on Leonardo da Vinci right now, and it talks about the Mona Lisa is considered this incredible painting, but do you ever actually create the perfect painting, or is there something like, okay, this could have been a little bit better, or this could have been, like, to you or I, we look at it and be like, wow, that's fantastic, right? But to the artists themselves, they're like, okay, the shading of this, or the depth of this stroke, or whatever it is, there's always different things to pursue and different things to enjoy. One of the things that I love about professional wrestling is that it's like this unique blending together of all these different like martial arts and theater. And so there's so many different avenues that you could pursue as far as like, okay, well, now I want to kind of go in this direction. I think somebody who's really good at that is Chris Jericho, who changes up his thing like all the time.
Yeah, he's constantly changing the direction. Himself. Yeah.
Constantly reinventing himself and all that kind of stuff, and the ability to do that in different ways as far as your in-ring style, as far as your personality, as far as this or that. So if you were to ask me, that's a very long-winded answer to the question of what are you hoping to accomplish. But mostly what I'm hoping to accomplish is to fulfill myself as a creative person in this thing that I love, which is professional wrestling.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Daniel Bryan. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Thank you all for listening as well. And don't forget to join us.